All right. I think we are officially live, Chris, on YouTube, that is. So I'm going to welcome everyone on right now that's attending or that is watching this, and whether you're watching this live or possibly on a replay, who knows. But what I'm going to be doing here today, I wanted to jump on here really quickly for a couple of different reasons. Number one, if you guys are following at all what we're doing here inside The Amazing Seller, we have a brand that we launched about 8 months ago, just under 8 months ago, and we just crossed the $200,000 mark. A little slow start. I say slow start. Our first month was like 3,900, and then from there it went to 8,900, and then 22,000, and 35,000. Then we had to drop to almost 16,000 because we ran out of stock. Then we went back to, I'm looking at my notes over here, 28,000. Then we went to 30,000. Then we went to 51,000. And now we're current right now into December. So it's growing really, really well. What I wanted to do here in this broadcast is really kind of cover three different things that I think moving forward we all should be considering. And that's kind of what we did when we approached this new brand, and we asked ourselves these questions. And that's what I want to do for you today, is kind of walk you through those questions that you can ask yourself while you're picking a product in a market. And then also, if you are prepared to really do what it's going to take to attack that market, because that's really what it's about. We're going to talk about feeding the beast, that is Amazon, giving them what they want. And then from there, what we're doing to move forward and what I suggest anyone else that's starting to do. Now, Chris, let me ask you this really quickly. Do you believe that right now, when you're starting today, 2017, we're almost in 2018, you're starting today, is it different than it was 3 years ago?
It's absolutely different than it was 3 years ago. That's not necessarily a bad thing. In my opinion, that's actually a good thing, because it means that we have to focus on the things that are going to build this for us over the longer term. And you and I have talked about a lot of that stuff in the past, where we talk about list building and all of that kind of stuff, but it's no longer, and Scott, you referred to this earlier, as like the Wild West, right? We can't just throw anything up and it will be a home run. But really what we're talking about is a return to kind of sound business practice, right? We need to verify our market. We need to be in it for the long term. This is not a flash in the pan thing. This is not a get rich quick scheme. This is a business. We're just using Amazon to launch it for us. And that's a really good way of going about doing it, at least in my opinion. So I'm glad for a lot of the changes that Amazon has made. It's made it a much more fair playground, in my opinion. And it means the people that are willing to put in the time, the energy, and the effort to building real businesses are going to be the people moving forward who get the most back out of the platform. Does that make sense?
It does. And, before we move on, though, Chris, I wanted to, because I was noticing we didn't have a lot of viewers coming on. In the back end here, we have to switch that over to public, not unlisted.
Oh, see, it's public on my side.
It wasn't on mine. So not quite sure if that makes a difference. But anyway, regardless, this is going to be as a replay anyway, so it doesn't really matter how many of you are watching right this second live. But what I want to do here is really just, again, talk about that, because a lot of people ask me, they're like, Scott, well, we're just, starting, and, it was way easier. I shouldn't even start. And the answer to that is that's not true. It is different. I don't say harder, it's different. And you have a few different things that you have to consider. So with that being said, let's kind of cover like what we've done in the new brand that allowed us to get to where we are, and also where we're going. So maybe you want to kick it off.
Yeah. And I think the first thing there, Scott, is understanding the audience that we're taking a look at. And you and I talked a few minutes ago about like learning your audience, kind of diving in, figuring out who those people are, where they hang out, and what they're actually interested in. And that's important for a couple different reasons. One, understanding who those people are, where they hang out, and the other things that they're interested in are going to help us expand that product line, which is something else that we talked about doing. But it's also going to allow us to find all of the different places and get a better understanding of exactly what people want, right? Like you and I have talked about in the past, finding products on Amazon and improving upon them using reviews is great. But if we can take some of those people who are passionate about fishing, right? And we can get them on a list that we own, or we can join them in a Facebook group. We can get real-time feedback from people who might be interested in the product. And that has been one of the things, in my opinion, that has really launched this brand. And the way that we've done that is by going into those communities and making them kind of our own, in a sense, through building our email list and building our social channels within that audience. Do you feel the same way about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, looking at, to me, I've got three different things I want to share, and we can kind of break that down for people. And then, we can, let people do what they want with the information, but I'm just going to share with you what I feel are like the key things to launching today. And I think it's really important that whether we're launching a new brand or I'm advising someone that's launching a new brand, these are things that I'm looking for. Okay. So let me just kind of dig into those. So number one, and you've kind of alluded to this, is like investigate the market, right? You might say, oh, this is cool. This is a new widget. I've got a new widget. We can sell that. That's great and all. And you may be able to do that. I know Dom with the Open brand does do that, but he also does it where he's launching not just one product to that audience, he's launching multiple products in that market that's in the Open brand.
Exactly.
If that makes sense. So it's kind of the same thing in a sense. It's just we're going actually a little bit wider and a little bit deeper all at the same time. So I like to investigate the market. So if we're looking at a garlic press, we're going to look at that market. We're going to say, are there people buying that product, but also are there people that are in there talking about not necessarily a garlic press, but what the garlic press does. In this case, it would be cooking Italian food, let's say. So if there was a whole community out there that was talking about, cooking, Italian meals, or, maybe even just like certain types of meals, and you knew that this garlic press was going to be a tool that they were going to be using, then I would say that's what we're looking for. Right? It's kind of like we're looking at ways to find a market that can start talking about the product in things that they're using it with. Same thing, fishing. We talk about this. If you're talking about ways that people are trying to catch bass because they're in a bass fishing tournament, and everyone that enters these bass fishermen tournament, they are all going to be talking about like what are they using for their lures? What are they doing when they use a certain a certain rod? Like they're doing all these things, but in the same breath, they're talking about the products that they're using. So that's what we're talking about. We want that discussion. We want that buzz. We want that community of people. So that's what we look at. Is there Facebook communities? Is there Instagram? Is there YouTube? Like, are there different communities out there where people are talking about this market, but then also products in that market? The other thing is I ask myself in this first part is when I'm doing the investigation is like, are there multiple products that one buyer would buy? Like, right. So if you can think of like 3 to 5 different products like that, like they just like, I'm thinking fishing, I'm like tackle box, net, pole, lures, bait, like that's just off the top of my head. Right. If I did some digging into those, I'd probably have a whole bunch more. That's what I'm looking for. Because then it's endless. We can keep launching products. We keep going wider and start attacking the market at all different sides. Because a fisherman today might be looking for a new rod, but tomorrow or a month from now, they might be looking for a net because they dropped it in when they were trying to get their fish. You know what I mean? Like, so, right? I mean, it's, you see what I'm saying, right? There's going to be different times that they're going to be searching for this stuff. So we want to be able to get them at all different times in their journey or in what they're doing at that time. So are there multiple products? That's another big one. And that's what's really helped us, I think, within this brand is there are multiple products. Can you offer variations? That's a little side note because I like variations. It's almost like having more than one product. It is, but it's the same product, just a different variation of it. So that's another thing that we look for. Can we launch variations? If we can, that's great. That's to me another notch that says, yes, we should probably go after this market. So that's number one. Chris, anything you want to add on that?
I think variations is a really cool notch in the belt, right? And this is something that we've talked about in the new brand that's extremely beneficial because you can launch additional products, additional SKUs without having to put up a ton more capital. And we've been able to take advantage of this in that new brand that we've taken from $0 to $200,000 in just under 8 months by tacking, a variation on the end of an existing order. So we said, we're going to order 500 of the blue. Do you guys also mind making us 250 of the red? And because we've already met that MOQ, they already have the line running. All they have to do is change the color of the material. They're totally cool with doing that. And that lets you test some other things, right? And let's go back to that fishing example. Just because I have a red wiggly worm doesn't mean I don't also need a blue wiggly worm, right? Largemouth bass like the red ones, smallmouth bass like the blue ones. I'm going to need to get both. but it's the same exact product. So we're going to list it on Amazon as a variation. The other thing that's really nice with variations and kind of outside of color, Scott, is if we get into, let's say it's a 1-pack, a 2-pack, a 3-pack, right?
Yeah.
Super easy to get your manufacturer to do that. You just say, can you make us a 1-pack, a 2-pack, and a 3-pack? They say, yeah, we don't care. We're going to make 500 units. We don't care how you want to split it up, right? And then you can have what Dom refers to as like an entry price point, right? So what shows for the customers on PPC and for those kinds of things is the $9.99 1-pack. But when they get in the listing, they realize that the $19.99 3-pack is actually a much better deal for them because they're essentially buying 2 and getting 1 for free. They convert themselves into that higher offer. So we can get more traffic and convert at a higher rate with variations a lot of times as well. And then going back to color, it's the same thing, right? If we only have the red wiggly worm, and I really should have picked a different example because that is a ton. The red wiggly worm, right? Blue wiggly worm. Well, maybe I don't need it, but I see that it's a wiggly worm and I click in and, oh, hey, they have the blue one. You know what? I really do need a blue one. My red one is probably okay. It's still in my tackle box. It's a couple years old, but I did need the blue one. So they click over and they buy that. And it should, in a lot of cases, raise your conversion rate kind of across the board. And it's a very easy thing to add in. And it's something we've taken advantage of in this new brand as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. So moving on to number 2. Number 2 is email list and social channels. And the reason why I think this is important moving forward, and a lot of people that I've talked to that are running successful brands agree with this. We need to feed the beast, and that is Amazon. So what do we mean by that? We need to give Amazon what they want. Well, what does Amazon want? They want sales, right? People would argue and say, no, they want reviews. No, they want sales. Reviews help get sales because people are feeling more comfortable about buying that product, but they want sales. So just forget about anything else right now. Just sales is what they want. So how do we give them sales? We find people that are in our market. We get them to raise their hands, and then we get to put an offer in front of them that is irresistible. And then from there, we get to spike our sales. Okay. So imagine being able to, Chris, I'm going to use your example. I'm going to steal it from you. Imagine being an Apple head, like I kind of am. I've got 5 Apples. I've got some iPads, a couple laptops. I've got a lot of stuff. I don't have an Apple Watch yet, though. Thought about it, but I'm not there yet. But so
do you wear a watch now? That's my.
I just wear my Fitbit, which I could change that out for an iPhone whatever, a watch. So all right, so. What the example we're going to use is like, have you ever seen the lines that form outside because they're going to drop a new phone? I know myself, I have. I should probably take a picture of it. I've got a picture of an iPhone, not an iPhone, an iPod, I think it was the 2nd generation. And it's a little white. Actually, I have it back.
Does it have the buttons across the top, or is it just the scroll wheel?
Okay. The screen isn't even color. The screen, it won't come on right now. I got to charge it. But basically, that's what we're looking at, guys. Okay. I think it's a 5 gig. Okay. It was huge.
$300, $400.
Yeah. $300. Waited in line for that thing. And it's heavy too. Paperweight. But I waited in line to get this thing, and then they also gave you a poster. I had the poster framed. It says like live. It was 2003. The year of it was 2003 because it says it on the poster. It says 03 live. I'll take a picture. I'll post it. But I waited with my buddy. It was kind of an experience. It's kind of like Black Friday for women. Sometimes women like to go out on Black Friday just to go out there. My daughter and my wife did it when she was living with us, my older daughter, and they would just go out, not really trample through the crowds, but go out just for the experience. Fun. It's a lot of hype. Everybody's kind of doing it, right? Same thing with Apple, but you become like this raving fan and you're going to go buy it. We're kind of doing that on a smaller scale, a lot smaller scale. But just imagine that, getting people lined up, and then you can let them know that something's coming, something that they're interested in. And then from there, you go ahead, give them an offer, tell them when the date's going to be. They sign up, you get 100 orders in 4 or 5 days. Right? So you spread them out over 4 or 5 days, you boost your BSR, your rank, you get rankings as long as you optimized, which we've done. And then from there, you start to rank and get organic searches and views. And that's what we're talking about. So feeding the beast is what we're talking about. And that is Amazon. Chris, that's another shirt we should get. I like that. So Yeah, so that's a big one for us, is really like getting the email list or the social platform so we can grab attention when we want it, drive people to our listing on Amazon, feed it what it wants, get ranked, get more eyeballs, and keep doing that. And that's what we've done on all the products that we've launched, and the results are pretty good. So that's number 2. Number 3 is adding multiple SKUs. And we talked about variations, and that is one way, but I like multiple products. So one product could have 2 SKUs, could have 3, could have 4 with variations. But let's just say we want to launch multiple products. That's what we've done. Some have been winners, some have been losers, some have been just mediocre. But the more that you spread out there, the wider of the net that you're getting, and you're grabbing people in from different parts. Like I had said about the fishing story, people are coming in at different. Something might attract this person to bring them in that wouldn't have attracted them if you had the one offer. And then from there, we bring them into our ecosystem, if you will. And then from there, we can start to, give them more opportunities, more offers. And then Amazon does retargeting for us. I mean, all that fun stuff. So that's really the 3 big ones. Like, investigate the market. Is there a Facebook group or communities out there that are not just raving, but they're talking a lot about it. They're sharing stuff within it. 2, can you build an email list or social channels? And then 3, adding multiple products. That's what we've done. That's what we're going to continue to do. And in 2018, we're going to be doing that. At least we're going to try to launch 1 new product per month. That's the goal. That's 12 new products. Possibly we might bump that up every other month and maybe do 2 products, depending. But that's what we're looking to do. And we really want to take this thing from a 6-figure business and build it to a 7-figure business. So Chris, what do you want to add to that? I talked a lot there. I know. What do you got?
I think the 2 things that a lot of people missed out on, having those multiple products, right? And this is something that we talk about. You never want to be dependent on a single thing, right? It doesn't matter. You don't want to have, like, Scott, we have backups on backups on backups, like for this, right? Like, we're live streaming on YouTube right now. This is the same platform that we do our workshops on, but just in case our workshop goes down, we have a backup because we don't want to leave people hanging. The same thing applies in business, right? We don't want to be dependent on a single channel, and we don't want to be dependent on a single product any longer than we have to. Obviously, when we launch our first product, we're single product dependent. But once that is established, we should be launching a second and a third. And if you look at our numbers in November, Scott, and do you remember, what did we do in November in this brand?
I'll pull it up right now. Yeah, it's 51,128.27.
Okay, so let's just call it 51,000 because I can't remember all the rest of those numbers. We had 1 product that sold 829, 1 product that sold 603, and 1 product that has multiple variations that was not even close to the top seller. And actually, if you add up all of the variations, it sold the most of anything that we have. But then we also have another product that we launched that sold over 200 units in 2 weeks on the platform. And so when you look at it on a day-to-day basis, some days this one would sell 7, some days it would sell 14. But on the days that this one sold 7, this one sold 20. Right. And then they would kind of flip flop, and it keeps that number a lot more even and a lot more stable. So if anything were to happen to one of those products, we would have a stable base of revenue to fall back on. Right. Let's just say one of those products we run into a quality control issue with, and we have to pull the SKU for a couple of days, or the scenario that we've run into multiple times so far this year in this brand, we run out of inventory. Right. Our sales don't go from 51,000 to 0. They'll drop, but they'll drop to 35 or 40,000. Right. They're not going to drop back to 0. So we're still going to have that revenue coming in, and we're not single product dependent. The second thing is, you talked about feeding the beast using that external traffic. And along that same line, over the long term, and guys, if you're just getting started, Amazon is the place to start. And Scott, you and I have talked about this when we were in Dallas. We were talking to it with our buddy Joel, and basically Amazon is the place to start right now. If you're interested in selling products, if you're interested in starting your own business, Amazon seems to be the most repeatable and the easiest in terms of like technology and because Amazon has the platform, they have the traffic, they have all of that kind of stuff, right? You don't have to build a website, you don't have to drive traffic, you don't have to do any of those kinds of things that you would have to do if you started anywhere else in e-commerce. Amazon takes care of a lot of that for you. But over the long term, we don't want to be dependent on a single channel, just like we don't want to be dependent on a single product. And if we build that list early, if we, build out that buffet, if you will, of things that we can use to feed the beast, when we start to build our own beast, we can feed that beast too. And that's where that stuff comes in really handy, right? And we've had success over and over and over again in this brand because we're doing a couple things right. One, we continuously have picked products that are at least bunts or singles for us. I wouldn't say we've had anything that failed outright in this brand, but we've had some things that kind of let us down a little bit, but they all pushed us in the right direction. The other thing is, because we have that list, we're able to launch with velocity without having to give away a whole bunch of product or without having to give away a massive discount. The biggest discount we gave was 50%. It's generally between 30 and 40%. And the most recent times it's been 25 or 30. And by doing that, one, we make money. Two, we're able to get those people the things that they're interested in, right? We're giving iPhones to everybody in the iPhone line. And every time we launch a product, we get velocity and we feed that beast. We give Amazon exactly what they want, which is sales. And we are confident in this brand. And we happen to know that we have some competition coming in this brand because our sourcing agent told us that somebody else was buying one of our top selling products in the, like, essentially the exact same product that we have. No one else has been selling it for 6 months. And all of a sudden an order showed up. Right. And in doing that, we're still confident that we can outsell them because we have 16,000, what did I say earlier? 16,671 people that are raving fans of ours and are willing to go buy our products when we launch a new one. And so we have that as an asset for the long term. And I think that's something people really need to understand.
Yeah. Hey, I want to try something real quick. What if I turn on the whiteboard? What happens, Chris? Oh, look at that. So let me see if I can do something here real quick. If we I can actually type in here. This is cool, guys. So we're going to learn on the fly here. So we got market. Okay. So if we find the market, there we go. Okay. Got that one. So we got the market, right? Let me do another little text box here and see if I can't do another thing here, Chris. There it is. Bear with me, guys. Bear with me. It's a little slower than I thought. So what we want to do is find the market. Then what we want to do is build email list. Is that coming up, Chris? You don't see it, do you? It might even be easier just to write that out, and that's going there. So this isn't working, Chris.
Getting all fancy on you guys over here.
So anyway, that didn't work.
When you see it, I just typed in build email list. Now I'm clicking on the screen and bringing stuff up. But
yeah, okay. So that's not going to work. So I guess we'll have to have a slide created next time. I thought that would work with this new fancy schmancy whiteboard stuff, but it's not.
Well, it is showing. So I see market. I don't see where you typed in email list. Can you see where I typed in email list?
Well, I just turned it off. So
well,
anyway, we'll try that again next time. But I was going to try to give you guys a visual.
Nice.
Yeah, it did. Well, I was going to try to give you guys a visual on how that would look. But basically, it comes down to finding the market, okay, and not just the product, finding the product that serves the market. The market, then we're going to look outside of Amazon. Is there communities? Is there places where people are talking about not just the product, but about the thing, right? So if it's guitar, are people talking about a certain style of guitar, jazz guitar or heavy metal guitar? Are there people that are talking about that stuff somewhere? If they are, then you're going to want to go and start to pull people from that community and build an email list so you can promote your products eventually. So that's the first two things. The last thing is really taking that information now and creating products that they need and that they want. Okay. And then from there, offering it to that list that you've built inside of that market. That's basically what it looks like. And then launching multiple products. The cool thing is too, a little side note here before we wrap up, the cool thing that you can also do is you can ask, imagine this, ask your audience now, your email list, your social platforms that you've been building, and ask them, what do you think about A or B? This one here is red. This one here is blue. Which one do you think would be better for, I don't know, the guitar case? And then everyone says black. I don't want blue because it won't go with my stuff. Okay, then we go with black, right? So you ask them questions. That was a very generic thing. It could be a texture. It could be a style. It could be the length of something, whatever it is. Or ask them, what would be your perfect thing if you could have whatever you wanted, what would it be? And then they'll tell you, and then you can go to work trying to create it. So again, it's almost like having a focus group in a sense, and then being able to deliver those products back to those people. And I think that is a huge asset that a lot of people aren't willing to do because it takes work. And that leaves me with something I want to end with is this thing doesn't happen overnight. It happens by consistently doing it. Understanding though, those few key things in the beginning, I think is critical, because if you have those things in place, then it's not a matter of, is that stuff there? Does that stuff exist? The stuff does exist because you've done your homework. Now it just matters, can you grab their attention? Can you create products that's going to have them wanting to buy them? That's all. At that point, that's all it is. So it's going to take patience. It's going to take work, and it's going to take consistency over and over again to try to build this stuff out. And from there, I think that you'll be way ahead of the game. So that's what I got, Chris. What else you got before we wrap up?
I think, Scott, that last point is something that I want to just kind of underscore again for people, because you and I hear all the time, like, oh, hey, can I use this to make $1 million in the next 3 months? The answer is yeah, but probably not, right? Like, we did $200,000 in revenue in 7.5 months, just under 8 months, right? The end of this month will be 8 months in this business, and we'll probably be closer to 250 or 260 at the end of that period. But the other thing that people need to keep in mind is that's not all profit, right? Like, we didn't make $200,000 in pure profit in the first 8 months.
Right.
What is profit out of that, though, after everything is said and done, is about 44% based on what you and I have been able to calculate.
Right.
And that's great, right? So we're talking $80,000 or $90,000 if I can do math. 50,000 would be 100, or 50% would be 100. So let's call it 80, right? Just to be conservative. That's a heck of a salary if you were to pull that out and to pay yourself with that. That's, the average American makes what, 52, 53, 55, something like that. It's a little less than 60 unless it's changed recently, but that's going to continue to grow for us, right? But the other thing on top of that is we haven't pulled any money out of this. We've been re-rolling the money back into this for 8 months. Our last check 2 weeks ago is the first time that we started pulling money out. Now we're going to be doing that a little more regularly moving forward. We have enough cash flow in the business to be able to order new products, to be able to maintain our current products, and to be able to pull some money out without running out of inventory. And that's the other thing people need to keep in mind. But in terms of starting a business, this is the easiest in terms of technological challenges. I can't even say the word technological. It's a challenge for me, apparently, in terms of scaling, right? Because you just repeat the same process that you've already gone through, and you can scale it, especially if you picked your product right the first time. And then in terms of like repeatability, right? The number of people that I've been able to see that do this in different spaces with different products is higher than just about any other opportunity that's out there. You just have to take the time to put in the effort and push through this, right? There's a lot of information out there. And Scott, the last thing that I want to say is you and I talk about this all the time. And I got an email, I think you saw it because I sent it to support this week, that said, I want to thank you for talking about just-in-time learning. I get overwhelmed by the information, but you guys constantly yelling at me to only focus on the thing where I am right now is the reason that I've been able to move forward. So if you guys are in the product selection portion of this journey, focus just on that stuff for now. If you've launched a product and you're running ads and you can't figure that portion out, then look at the PPC, the sponsored product stuff that's out there. If you're beyond all that and you want to do something crazy, look at some of the list building stuff, look at some of the other stuff that we're doing that's out there, and then worry about all of those shiny objects. But buckle down, focus on where you are, and you'll be able to do exactly what we did. What we did in the last 8 months is not magic. It's not. It's repeatable. And we've been able to demonstrate that in this brand because every time we launch a product, we have the same successes over and over and over again. And as other people have started to implement the things that we're talking about, we're seeing the exact same things in their business as well.
Cool. Hey, I'm going to do something kind of random here. Guys, that is pretty much going to wrap it up. But Chris, before you go, though, I want you to do something for me. I'm going to make you wait for a minute. You're like, what's he going to have me do? What is it? You curious?
I don't know if you know what I'm.
No, I do. I do know. It's what I'm going to want you to do, and we'll let everyone else know. But guys, if you want to continually learn about this stuff, if you want to be notified when we put out new content like this, we're going to give updates. We're going to give new training coming up in 2018. We got a lot of new training. Definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can go ahead and click the little notification thing there too. That'll give you the little bell, I believe it is, that'll let you know when we're either live or when we've posted something new. So definitely subscribe, like this. Give it a thumbs up if you think it's cool, obviously. And just subscribe to the channel. Wherever you see it on this page, somewhere, subscribe to this channel.
Should be right down. Of course, my hand disappears. And
it could be here.
It's going to be right under Scott, I believe. If you're not subscribed, it's red. You are subscribed, it should show up as gray. So as one of my favorite YouTube creators has started saying, become gray today, right? Click that button, join us, and do all that. Scott, before we jump off of here, I had one question that I wanted to answer. We always do this. We say just one more thing. There was a question from Eldar. He said, hey guys, are you happy with your Q4 sales? Or do you feel that Q4 is a little bit delayed this year? The answer is, we're happy with our Q4 sales. We'd love if they were triple what they are, but we can't complain to date. And no, I don't think it's a little bit delayed. I think a lot of people are seeing different sales than they would have in the past, maybe, or not as much of an increase at this point. Now we saw about, and I'll have to go back and run the numbers, but right before Black Friday, and I haven't looked at the numbers since then, we were up about 35% over month to date in October, which is pretty typical. A lot of people came to us, Scott, and one person inside the classroom said, I want to 10x my sales. Now I told him that was probably unrealistic, not realizing he was selling like 3 or 4 units a day. He had a 25 or 30 unit day the other day. So he did 10x his sales for one day, right? But typically in Q4, we see a 30 or 40% increase in sales. It's not like just clearing out shelves, right? But product does move very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
It hit for us towards the middle of October, like the week of the, like right in the middle, right? The week before Halloween, then Halloween kind of dipped back down. And then it's just been kind of a steady climb ever since. If you guys are having issues, like you have a product that you think should be moving, let us know, let us know in the comments. And the next time we jump on live, we can take a look and see if there's a reason for it, or if it's just the time of the year. And that's the other thing, Scott, not everything moves faster in Q4. Most stuff does, but just about everything will see a little bit of a bump. Some things will see a massive bump, right? Things that are giftable will see a massive bump. Yep. Furbies, you're going to sell a lot of them, right? And I just dated myself with that reference, but Furbies are still a thing. They just launched a new Furby a couple years ago. I'm not that far behind the times, but it's Hatchimals. Okay, if you want to go last year, we'll go with Hatchimals.
All right, Chris. Before we get going, we got a workshop to do tonight, so we have to stop Chris from talking. He's giving you guys a lot of great information, and I don't want to cut him off there, but we do have a workshop tonight. So we do. If you guys are interested, if you're watching this live, or even if you're watching this on a replay, go register for one of our workshops. We have one of our last ones happening tonight, the time that we're doing this live. You can go register at theamazingseller.com/workshop. We'll drop it in the description down below. Go check that out. We are going to be doing one more. It'll take you through the entire process, all the way from A to Z, 5 steps, the 5 phases that we call it, and everything that we use as far as our little roadmap that gets us to, discover the product idea, but then also to launch the product and do everything in between. So Chris, what I wanted to do before we wrap up here is we need to create a thumbnail image for this episode. So I'm gonna go like this, and I want you to look towards me like I'm taking your picture. Ready? 1, 2. You ready? Here we go.
I can't see you, so I don't.
That's all right. Ready? Ching. All right, there. Ching. That's a cash register. That wasn't even like, let's say.
You're the worst with if your camera, Scott. You ran a photo studio. Have you ever had a camera that made that noise? Either of those noises?
I exploded if it did.
Ching. It's a spring breaking in your SLR right there. It
was the shutter that came down inside and it just exploded. All right. Anyway, so guys, get out there. I'm like paparazzi right now. Get out there and take action. All right, guys, that's it. That's going to wrap it up for this little episode. This was a test also. We wanted to see how this was going to work on this new platform that we're trying that will work with YouTube and lives and all that stuff. So let us know what you guys think. If you want us to keep coming back, let us know in the comments. Like it or thumbs up or whatever you do here on YouTube. I'd appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you guys soon. So, Chris, we should probably get going. What do you say?
Let's do it. You got the button.
Oh, I do. Okay, cool. See you guys later. Take care. Take action. We'll see you.